use of words. The word socialism. Now, that's in the Word Guide. I'm not looking at it right now, but I remember what I said about it, or what I think I said, as a recommendation, because I recommend this for all words. The user of the word should explain in detail exactly what the word means in practical terms, meaning when you put it in practice. I have never figured out what the word socialism means. I used to give speeches on another ism very close to what they say is socialism, and that is communism. I was assigned to do this when I was on a military base, and I was given a commendation for making an excellent presentation. And the presentation was on Yugoslavian communism. And I talked about that for several weeks in great detail. And I will say, right now, to this day, I have absolutely no idea of what I was talking about. The word communism, the word socialism, the word communism, when anybody uses these terms, you have to ask the person, what do you mean in a practical way when you use any one of those three words? Those words have been moved around all over this planet. Socialism, communism, capitalism. And they're supposed to mean something. But what do they actually mean in practice? What does a communist do that nobody else does? What does a capitalist do that nobody else on the planet does? What does a socialist do that nobody else on the planet does? And I'm talking about does in every area of activity.
Yes, sir.
What does a socialist do in the area of economics, the use of time and energy? How does a socialist use time and energy? What does a socialist do when it comes to the second area of activity? How does a socialist use education? What does a socialist do and not do? Does a socialist drive a cab? Does a socialist, operate a forklift? Is a socialist a person who is a farmer? And what kind of farmer? Does he or she grow tulips or what? What does a socialist do that nobody else does? Okay? And in every area of activity, what does a socialist do sexually? What does a socialist do in the area of religion that's different from what a capitalist does? See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So always get people to explain in fine detail, and when I say in detail, I mean in each one of these areas of activity. When a person stands up and says, I am a socialist, you say, hold it, if you don't mind, sir. Let's deal with that one word before we go any further. I want to know what a socialist does in each one of these areas of activity. And after that, I want to know what is different that a socialist does that nobody else on the planet does from what you just named, of all those things you just named in all of those areas of activity.
Yes.
And you do the same thing with capitalists, you do the same thing with communists, you do the same thing with any ism or anything that isn't considered an ism. If you're talking about Christianity, you say, or Republican or Democrat. What does a Democrat do that nobody else does? What does a Republican do that absolutely nobody else does?
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Okay? Let's get what? Understanding.
Understanding. Okay.
So you don't have what? Confusion.